The Film Slice Crew review X-Men Dark Phoenix.
Gonna be a long, long time.
Dark... Oh, hang on, that sounds good. That sounds much better.
Oh, no.
Ooh,
I'm a Rocketman.
I'm getting Rocketman and Skyrim.
Rocketman.
Okay.
Burn like a Jeep.
We're doing Rocketman because nobody wanted to see X-Men, including us. Alright, Rocketman it is, everybody. Bye.
Hey team, Angus, Strachan here. Welcome to the
Film Slice Podcast.
I'm here, as always, with my co-host, Kane Jiggly Wiggly, Kane Dogs.
Hey there, thank
and
you.
the man formerly known as Brody Ledoux, Broadman Richards. This week he is known as...
Dover Keane.
Great.
What?
What did you say?
Dover Keane.
Dover Keane. Alright, and this week we are reviewing Rocketman. Rocketman, not X-Men, because...
No,
from all
but it
accounts,
is
it's been pretty
in
bad.
the Marvel MCU. Rocketman is the new up and comer for
new
the
X-Men.
Yeah,
Avengers.
they're doing a new universe. It's going to have Bohemian Rhapsody. They're tying that in. They're going to do Rocketman.
Yeah.
They're going to put Elton John and bloody Freddie Mercury.
Elton
Yeah.
John.
They're going to do another one, probably. Bradley Cooper will probably be in it. We'll never know.
Probably.
Probably just be
He's
in
in
it.
all the cinematic universes.
Nick Fury's going to be there. It'll be great.
Kane Dogs, you want to whip out that IMDb summary of the Rocketmeister?
Absolutely, I can. A musical fantasy about the fantastical human story of Elton John's breakthrough years. Mm-hmm. Did they need to write human?
Just in
We know
case.
he's a human.
Well, I mean, he is a rocket man, so
It
he
says-
might be from outer
Rocket
It
space.
Man.
says musical fantasy about the fantastical human story of Elton John.
All right, when'd you see the movie? What do you think?
When did you see the movie? What did you think? Do you like the movie? None of the shit.
I saw the movie yesterday on Sunday afternoon, and didn't know it was a musical going into this one. And usually don't like musicals. Not a fan of them. Not a fan of the whole flash mob dancing thing. It always sort of screws up how I think the world is meant to work. Because why don't I just sing all the time? But really great, actually. Coming off the back of Bohemian Rhapsody, which is of course going to be very similar. Making it a musical is really going to sort of put a bit of distance between those films being compared.
Yeah. Should we spoiler alert it being a musical? Because I didn't realize it was a musical either.
It's in the trailer.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's in the trailer.
Is it? Yeah. I don't know.
I don't think it's a spoiler.
It's not like a spoiler,
it's
but
the
it's
genre.
like a nice surprise. Because I also didn't think it was a musical. And when it went into its first dance scene, I was like,
It was a bit jarring.
did this really
was.
happen?
A bit jarring.
I wasn't expecting it.
But
Yeah.
it's really gonna do it some good to not be exactly the same as Bohemian Rhapsody. Broman, when did you see it?
Also known as Dover Keane. I saw it Sunday afternoon as well. Not with Jordan, because had a bit too much of that.
I mean, I went with him, but he refused to sit next to me.
Yeah. Fuck that.
Not really.
Yeah, I did sit next to him, and it was even worse. And I thought it was okay. Obviously, I was comparing it to Bohemian Rhapsody, which I loved, and it just didn't make it as much of me. I think, although I know a lot of people like musicals, I'm not usually the biggest fan. I did like that the musicals had a reason in this film, because Elton was on a lot of drugs, so it was like, okay, so it's kind of like a hallucinogenic, dreamy sort of sequence. Okay, I get that. I hate it when people there's just a musical for the sake of musical, and it never really defines the rules of a musical. Because usually there has to be set rules to these things. Otherwise, it can just be a bit oh, what the fuck's happening?
Where are we going?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
And so, while it did that correctly, I don't think it benefited from being a massive musical that much, because I think the musical hid a lot of the storytelling. And so it was kind of just like watching a montage of moments from Elton John's life without there being a good middle, beginning, and end.
Yeah.
Because I'll get more into the spoilers. But it just didn't hit quite as a high note as Bohemian Rhapsody did.
Yeah.
That Freddie Mercury can also hit.
Alright,
that
a lot of
8 octave.
A lot of punches.
I guess 8 octave. That's a lot.
What about you,
Might have been 5.
Angus, when did you see it, and what did you think?
I saw this movie 2 nights ago, and it's hard not comparing it to Bohemian Rhapsody
Yeah.
So
because
hard.
it's still so fresh.
And they came out so close to each
so
other.
close to each other. I think it would have done well if it had a bit more time to breathe against Bohemian Rhapsody. Like if it
Yeah.
came out next year, maybe
Yeah.
It's also-
it would have been a lot better, and you wouldn't be comparing it as much.
Inevitably, their lives are also quite similar in terms of the story they got told. A
storyline.
lot of lines can be drawn there that are quite similar to each other.
Definitely. Yeah, it's almost like you've kind of seen it all before. We'll get into it more, but all in all, it did what it was meant to do, which kind of reminded me of how good Elton John songs are and how many songs he actually has.
There was this thing going into this movie where I was like, yeah, I love Elton John. I love that song where it goes, and then there's other one that's like, and I realized going into it, I'm like, I don't know any of the words to any of his songs. Like, I know all of, like, I recognize them all, but I don't know any of the lyrics to any of them. I was like, it's weird getting that close in and being like, yeah, Elton John, you know, because I went with someone else who's not, like, the biggest Elton John fan. I was like, you know, you did the song, Tidy Dances. I'm like, yeah, I don't remember any of the words of those songs.
You know how every week I put up on Instagram, Broadman puts up on Twitter, and Cane Dogs, you put up on Facebook.
I do indeed.
What movie we're reviewing this week, and get our slices out there, you bloody beautiful listeners, to let us know what your thoughts are on the film. And normally no one replies. Well, guess what?
What?
I've got 4.
Yeah, I got a few.
This is from That Tay.
Yep.
Says, all music biopics should be musicals, and that's not up for debate anymore. Thanks, Rocketman. Prayer emoji.
Nice.
We also have the exact same thing underneath that. I feel like that's just Instagram sending it twice.
No.
Either
He's
that
very
or he's
keen.
very keen on all music should definitely be... music biopics.
No, all
should be
music should
musics.
all
And
music
that's
should be musicals. There no more radios. It's all visual.
Thanks, Rocketman.
Is
And
he signing off as Rocketman? Thanks, Rocketman.
thanks, Rocketman. Yeah, maybe
him.
it is.
Good on him.
Good on you, Rocketman.
We know Rocketman's secret identity now. This
And
is
he's
from
not dead.
not.filmslice.host. He says, all music biopics should be musicals, and that's not up for debate anymore. Thanks, Rocketman. So the general consensus is that I think all music biopics should be musicals.
It'd be good if
Now
some of
on.
the messages. I feel like at this point, even Instagram is quite worthless.
This is from Hooverman91. He said,
Oh.
all music biopics should be musical. Found out today Fappo, aka Jordan, hates the Terminator series. Hashtag get him fired.
1, good. 2, incredible. The rest, get rid of them.
That's what Jordan thinks about your comments, everyone.
Wow.
1 good, 2 the best. The rest of them were shit. So don't comment on the podcast, I guess it was, what Jordan's saying.
Yeah.
Angus, do you
I
have any
didn't
more?
know Jordan wasn't a fan
Yes.
of the Terminator. We probably should get him fired.
Oh.
That was Jordan throwing my copy of the Terminator onto the ground.
And so we did get mentioned in a comment by the IOHO podcast in our Honest Opinion podcast. They said, celebrate good times, come on, our new out now on iTunes and everywhere you listen to podcasts. Shameless shout out to Film Slice podcast early on. And come take a listen as we head off into Agrabah for a review of Aladdin. So there you go.
Just give us a shout out.
Yeah.
Have we ever done anything with them or for them before in our life?
We've mentioned them.
Yeah,
That's just
I always
because
have.
they keep commenting to us.
Yeah, they just give... Yeah. Well, they found out the system. Free advertisement here on the Film Slice
Scratch our
podcast.
back and we'll maybe scratch yours sometime.
That's it.
And
So
we'll scratch our own backs as well.
We'll also scratch our backs and together we'll both scratch
That's
our
it.
back.
Head on over to In Our Honest Opinion podcast and let them know if we're any good.
And let
That's
us
all we
know
got
if
from
they're any
Instagram.
good.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yep.
we haven't.
We can go to Twitter.
Yep.
Yep.
Uh,
Brody, anything on Twitter?
No.
Great. All right. Moving over to Facebook. Put up the trailer. Have you seen it? What did you think? We got Gemma Elliott. It was really great. I think maybe a lot of people expecting something more like Bohemian Rhapsody, and I feel a little disappointed. And may feel a little disappointed in brackets my boyfriend, but it was a fantastic musical.
Cool.
Then we got Nathan Slinick, long time listener at this point.
Nice one. Yep.
Says Eddie the Eagle.
Fair enough.
Yep, just Taron Egerton. Yep.
Yep.
And then we got Amy Irvin, who I saw the movie with. Cinema Dick. Ew. Watching the Lion King trailer before the movie, Jordan insisted on criticizing the trailer instead of letting me just enjoy it. And then we had a big so look, it's not going to be any good. It came up, we had a big argument, and then like she was talking about it, and then the movie started. So I couldn't be like, no, this is why it'll be bad. But little does she know, I got a fucking podcast, and the reason it will be bad is because...
That's enough from you, Jordan. Moving on to the next one, please.
And Amy Irvin commented further to say, also really enjoyed the movie, went in not knowing what to expect, but I did like how it was made, more like a musical. Some would say it is a musical.
Nice one. Yeah. I also would say it is a musical, which brings us on to our next segment. Would you recommend it, and who would you recommend it to?
brings us
People
Welcome to
that
our
like
next segment,
musicals.
musical or not?
Yeah, I was gonna say,
With me, Angus Strachan.
is it a musical? Is it a musical? Is it not?
Sound of music. Is it a musical or not? Jordan, throwing that one to you.
Yes.
Yes. Correct answer. Terminator 3. Angus, is that a musical or not?
Yes.
You got it. Right?
It might as well be.
Jordan, Terminator 2.
No, it's fucking great. And no,
Wrong, it is a musical. Angus wins.
K-Dogs.
Yep.
Who would you recommend it? Who would you recommend it to?
Who would I recommend it, and who would I recommend it to? The classic segment.
Yep.
I'd recommend it to any fans of Elton John. I said David Bowie. Any fans of Elton John, of course. And anyone who likes musicals. I think if you liked Bohemian Rhapsody, but you don't just want to go and see another Bohemian Rhapsody, because I think there's going to be a lot of people that are upset, as Amy Irvin said on the podcast earlier. But you shouldn't go into another movie hoping for the exact same thing to just be retreaded with a different person, like a different artist. So if you liked that, but you're aware that this will be different in some ways, then go see this.
I'd recommend this movie to anyone that likes musicals, anyone that likes Elton John.
Yeah,
I think
or
it's
David
pretty
Bowie.
Safe. Nah, probably not.
Probably not relevant.
I'd recommend this. Obviously, to anyone who's an Elton John fan, it's literally a movie about Elton John.
Cool. All right. Let's head on into spoilers then.
All
Let's
right,
get
nailed
this
that
show
one.
on the road.
Oh, what a cool sound effect, Angus.
We are now in the spoiler section where we dissect and divulge everything about the film you've been bloody wanting to know. All right. First off, cinema dicks. Anyone got a dick in your cinema?
Absolutely,
Yeah, someone had a torch on in the cinema.
Oh, no good.
Fucking dickhead.
What?
There were people behind me and Amy that were talking like the whole time at like normal voice. Like they just kept having conversations.
Sorry about that.
But we weren't in a position to turn around and tell them to shut up, because me and Amy also halfway through the film would just have small conversations. Like just because it was a small.
So they
like,
were dicks.
So you were a little dick, but there was a bigger dick. Oh, damn it! God damn it! I fucking nailed it. This is how Jordan must feel.
There were digabix. There were digabix behind us. Exactly.
There
Brady.
were some digger bigs
There were
behind
some
them.
digabix behind us.
Okay.
God damn it.
I don't really have a cinema dick.
No
more of a
digabix?
Dick cinema. Just because it was a really small cinema, the one that I went to, not my usual one.
Yep.
And there was a line to see it, so I got really crummy seats. That's about it.
No, good.
Yeah, but everyone else was pretty lovely.
I got there and there was a line, and we showed up quite late to the movie, and I was like, "No, please tell me. Like, surely there's not a line for Rocketman." Aladdin had sold out again, so we were all good.
Yeah, because people are still seeing Aladdin and Avengers and all that shit.
Classic.
Guy in front of me was like, "Tickets to John Wick," and I was so close to being like, "Oh, mate, you're gonna have a fucking great time today."
I've never, ever belonged somewhere less than in that cinema. It was me. I got there early, so I was the first one in. So I like got the best seats. I was like sat like a bit further to the back, right in the middle, and I was like, "Fuck yeah!" And I was just sitting there, and then everyone else who came in was either a 50-year-old woman, a 50-year-old couple, or a 30-year-old couple.
Yeah.
Except for like two, like I think 3 15-year-olds that just sat at the back and just like ate so much fucking junk food and like soft drinks and everything. I was just like, why this film of all films? I was
I was
just
gonna
like,
see Rocketman,
yeah,
the Elton John biopic.
like Brightburn and Avengers and John Wick, and all of a sudden they're just like, yeah, let's go to Rocketman, sit at the back and eat some corn chips and soft drink. What the fuck? And then there was me, it just right in the middle, wearing like a black leather jacket, just being like, so
Talk about a bloody mixed bag of lollies.
yeah.
Talking about
All right.
mixed dicker bags. You know what I'm saying?
Damn, why didn't I do that? Mixed bag of dicks. All right. Let's head on into our most positive things. What were our favourite bloody things of the bloody Rocketman film?
Oh yeah.
K-Dogs.
Yes, sir. I think my biggest positive to say about this film is the casting. There's a lot of fantastic things about this movie, but you can't go past the casting of not only Taron Egerton as Elton John,
Rob
but
Stark.
all of the supporting cast. There wasn't a fault amongst them. The guy who played the sleazy arsehole did a really good job at the beginning of playing charming and charismatic and seductive, and then
Yeah.
that
I'd sleep with him.
and then absolutely,
Yeah,
he
who
looked
wouldn't
a
sleep
lot
with Rob
like
Stark?
Henry Cavill as well. Oh, he's fucking
Rob Stark,
yeah.
It's the third time Brody's
Good on
mentioned
the
that.
third time.
Yeah, but I've only just... I don't listen to Brody unless he says something 3 times. It's usually not worth it unless he really nails it. Yeah, no, the casting, fantastic. This whole way through the film, every time they introduced the character, every time a character had a change in tone or a change in opinion, I 100% believed it. Even knowing Taron Egerton from a lot of other films at this point.
Is it Egerton or Egerton?
I thought it was Egerton.
Okay.
It is
There's
now.
also-
If he asks me, I'm telling him it's
Fair enough.
Egerton.
Because there's also Joel, the Australian guy, Joel Egerton.
Joel Edgerton, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, so maybe it's...
Egerton.
Look, I don't know. Anyway, I would...
I think it's Egorton.
Egorton.
Yeah, Taron Egorton.
Egorton.
Taron. Tyrone Egerton. Anyway, I really enjoyed Tyrone Egerton in this.
Agreed.
When I
Yeah.
first saw him, I thought, oh, I'm not going to be able to not see just him in ridiculous outfits. Like, I'm not sure I'm going to get caught up in him. But nah, within like that first sort of 5 minutes of him walking in and sitting down,
Yeah.
I was completely sold.
Yeah. Building on top of that, my most positive was also going to be the casting,
John
but
Egerton's
seeing as
last
you
name?
bloody stole that,
Yep.
I'm going to put that one step further and say the costumes department. Not
Yep.
only in the costumes that he was wearing in the movie,
But
but,
the
also
whole
making
genre.
him
Yeah.
look like
Elton John.
Elton John. I forgot his name for a second.
But also,
But, like,
everybody else in that movie looked awesome.
Yeah. Like there's this one scene where it's kind of he's obviously going on tour or something, and it's just him at the piano singing a song, and it spins around, and he just keeps on changing costumes and changing costumes, and that looked like spitting image like Elton John. Did they get him to sit in on that? Like, is that like a little Elton John cameo?
Yeah, it was a great job.
Just because, it was fantastic. Like,
There's a part in this, like for the first half of the film, seeing all of the characters wearing the clothing from that era, I was like, man, why don't we dress like this still? And then later on, where Elton John, we keep forgetting his name. It's really forgettable.
David
For someone
Bowie.
that changed his name to that, it's quite forgettable. The first time he's playing at like a larger place in New York, and he sort of first starts to play to a crowd.
Yeah.
His best friend, I can't remember the guy's name, but he starts dancing, and I'm like,
You mean the other guy from Jumper?
yeah, that guy. That's exactly where I knew him from as well, which is disappointing for him. But like I was like, why don't we should all take it back a few years and go back to this, because this is cool. And then he started dancing, and I was like, maybe not. No
Maybe
good. Costumes are cool, dancing no good.
I will say that scene though of like the first time that he's in America and he starts floating up. That was probably the standout scene for me as well, because it
I
was.
don't know.
It was such
That's towards my negatives. If I'm
Yeah,
honest.
I wasn't a big fan of that scene. I was just kind of like,
I thought it was.
Before we-
I thought it was like the one scene that kind of definitely pushed it away from the idea of like a biopic, like a Bohemian Rhapsody biopic, like that. It was such like a musical tool, but just like everything kind of slowed down, and that feeling of him like finally being like, holy crap, I've made it, like just floating in the air with the audience.
Isn't that
and,
a
like,
move he used to do where he would play piano and he used to jump up with his hands on the piano?
I'm not sure.
Because there's photos of him doing that, right?
Maybe, yeah.
So I think
there's
that's the
pictures
first
of him
time,
doing
like maybe the first time he did it on stage.
Oh, really?
And so like that's where the floaty thing came from.
There's a lot of visual metaphors.
Yeah.
They do a lot of metaphors in this that are visually represented.
Yeah.
And for me, a little jarring to sort of slip into those metaphors. A little too on the nose.
Especially in that scene. I feel like I would have been completely fine with that scene if the rest of the film really doubled down on the musical thing. But it was trying to like walk the tightrope of musical and biopic.
Yeah.
And I think that it would have been better if it just chose one. You know, because if it just went, let's go full musical, I think it would have been better, because it would have been there would have been even more scenes. Like I would have loved to see scenes even when they go to like a full-on musical type thing, of they go into like a soundstage and there's like moving set pieces and people actually dancing. And they're going to different moments of his life. I think that would have been a lot cooler than them trying to balance between the musical parts and then cutting back to the
reality,
the Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah, well, that's
scenes where he's like talking about his life.
as Brody touched upon earlier as well. Like a lot of the musical stuff is there to help represent what he's intaking with all of the drugs and those hallucinations. So the rest of the visual,
no, though, because some of it is just him remembering stuff from when he was a kid.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
the rest of the metaphors, though, sort of do happen while he's like, there's that one of him falling into a pool. And that's clearly a visual metaphor. And there's him like shooting off into space like a rocket. But both of those sequences, he is like high and off his tits. So I was okay to buy those. But the one where he's like floating on the piano, I'm like, isn't he like perfectly okay?
He's perfectly sober at that point.
So that's sort of different to the way they decided to display the other metaphors. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because
I really like that.
Because technically the story is him sitting in front of like Alcoholics Anonymous and telling his story, right? And then that's when all of this information is coming from. So when you get to scenes like that where he's like on stage doing like the handstand thing on the piano, it just makes me think like, why is he telling people at Alcoholics Anonymous like about this? That's where I went to for a lot of the scenes, where it's like, why would he be talking about this in that group session? And so that's the bit that took me out, because it had that reality grounding moment of him in the group saying like, "Hi, my name's Elton John. I'm an alcoholic."
I floated on the piano.
Yeah, It's one of those things where it's like I can't picture him just talking about this because it wasn't necessarily important to the rest of his story.
Fair enough.
And that's why I think that just balancing that line between biopic and musical maybe either could have been done a bit better, or they should have picked one.
Yeah,
Hard turn into Brody's most positive though. Brody.
I loved the cinematography for the first half of this film. The second half, it got a little bit crazy, and it wasn't as much of a stylistic choice. I really loved all the stuff at the beginning where it was like back in the 60s or the 50s when he was like a kid. All of it was great. I love the way that they positioned like all the blocking with all the different actors.
Yeah, all the musical numbers and stuff.
Yeah, it was all done really well. Yeah, there's also that I really like the scene where he was like when he was a kid and he's singing and he's sitting on the steps in his house and there's like a single light right above him and he's singing and then his mother sings and then his grandmother sings and then his father sings. I really loved that scene because it was moving throughout the house, moving from all these different characters, and they were all lit up incredibly well. And I just thought it was like such a beautiful like moment.
Yeah,
that was just enhanced from the screen imagery.
Yes, agreed. Cane Dogs, most negative.
Okay, so my biggest negative isn't so... If you see this film by itself, I don't have as many negatives. My biggest negative is coming off of the back of A Star Is Born and Bohemian Rhapsody. And this, they all have this in common, which is that it's about an artist who starts to see fame, then he gets a bit sort of pushed into selling out by larger corporations, then the drugs and the alcohol kick in, and then they have anger management issues, and then they lose all their friends, and then something horrible happens in their life that makes them even sadder, and then at the very end they kind of apologize to their friend, and that's all three of them. It's just all of them is that. And even closer with Bohemian Rhapsody, you've got the sort of the homosexuality in it as well, where it's just a guy really struggling with that, being gay, being accepted by his family and friends, having a persona that's a bit more fantastical, and then being like, you know, having the pressure of having to be like that in real life for people.
See, it does suck because Elton John was actually an artist before Queen. Came out. So, like, seeing Bohemian Rhapsody, knowing he was going to do a movie, he would just be like, shit.
It's one of those things.
Yeah, that would have been a sucky moment for all the people that were like...
As I said, it's one of those things. It's not a nitpick with the film itself. It's just unfortunate that all of these films came out like within 6 month periods of each other. But you can't deny that if you've seen the first two, regardless of what happened first in real life, like just as a film, if you've already seen A Star Is Born and you see Bohemian Rhapsody, this is really going to feel like you're retreading a lot. Like there's a lot of scenes where, like even the angry manager in this, I think his name's Dick, Mike Myers is the angry manager in Bohemian Rhapsody, the exact same of like, play me a song, and they play a really famous song. It's like, nah, it'll be shit. Like that, we've seen that. We've seen them,
almost the exact same scene.
Yeah, we've seen them working together. We've seen them be like, you know, be forced to sell out. We've seen them yelling at their friends. We've seen them like, you know.
Speaking of the same,
seen it all.
Speaking of the same thing, did you guys notice that the mansion that Elton John lives in looks like
very similar,
spot on to the mansion that Freddie Mercury lives in?
Yeah.
Also,
I guess they all just had the same sort of stuff. Because they were just like, oh, we've got all this money, just buy anything.
Either that or like the studio that makes all of these films owns a certain amount of mansions and stuff like that. Like it is interesting,
jumping on the back of you, Jordan.
Yeah.
Sorry if you can't.
Bloody get on my back, mate. Bloody get on it.
I think
climb right up on there.
I think another thing that is kind of a detriment to this film is that Bohemian Rhapsody with Queen's songs are such anthems.
Yeah.
Even though I wasn't a big Queen fan, I knew all the lyrics to pretty much all the songs.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like I'm not a Queen fan. I've never gone out and was like, I'm going to listen to Queen or whatever. But it's just always been one of those bands.
You've watched Mighty Ducks, you've listened to like 40 of the songs.
It's been one of those bands that's in so many movies.
Yeah.
And it's also just been in like, if you go to a pub or wherever.
Every football ad ever.
They might play a Queen song. So I just knew them. But whereas this entire song, I knew Tiny Dancer.
The entire film, you mean?
This entire film. Yeah. I only knew that one song. And I think I only really knew it as
Joseph
well.
Joseph Gordon's lip-syncing battle?
No, it's because they made a joke about it in Friends where Phoebe's basically saying, what about that song that Elton John wrote for that like TV star? And it's like, hold me close, young Tony Danza. And that's I think that's the only reason where I really knew Elton John from. And so like for this entire film, I was just like, I think all of these are Elton John songs, but I have no idea if they actually are.
Also,
Yeah.
I went in with the song that I really wanted to hear him play, and then came out and realized it wasn't an Elton John song, which is what is it like?
It was Bohemian Rhapsody by
Walking
Queen.
on Memphis, which is just not an Elton John song.
No,
I don't know why I thought it was. I just thought it was. And so
Yeah.
the whole time I was like, oh, it's a big song.
Yeah.
When are they going to break it out? And never happened. And I was like, no. And then I Googled it. I was like, no, it's not an Elton John
It's
song.
not
I also went in. I was like expecting him to play Guerrilla Radio, which is a great song, but it was like, oh, that's not an Elton John song. That's a radio. That's
Yeah.
a
Rage Against the Machines.
Rage
Yeah.
Against the Machine song.
Close. My negative kind of fits into that. I do know like a lot of Elton John songs. Like I kind of grew up listening to a lot of his songs, so you kind of recognize them. The problem that I had with the film is that they didn't really let the songs breathe enough before they went on to the next one. It was almost like they were just trying
skipped a
to...
lot of
Yeah,
good
I
ones.
have no idea how many songs that were in this film because they were just singing a lot.
They were just
And
kind of trying to
montage through.
And because it was
through-
also like a musical, like in Bohemian Rhapsody, you heard the songs when they were performing them or they were recording them. But in this one, because it's that kind of psychedelic, like dream sequency musical thing, they would just sing songs, and sometimes they'll be completely different to how you remember hearing them, right? Because there's other characters that are singing them.
Yeah, because in Bohemian Rhapsody, it was like you could use it as a backing track kind of thing. So like throughout the whole scene, you could have the whole song kind of play over, and in your mind, you'd be like, yeah, that is an awesome song.
Yeah.
But in this, when like they have to kind of keep the musical going, the numbers, like the musical numbers just kind of mash into one, and you don't have time to breathe and go, wow, that is a really powerful song, you know? Yeah, that was probably like my biggest negative.
Look, it's a good movie. There's just a
kind of-
little things. And again, we've seen it done better in other things recently. Or at least we've seen it done differently in a way that worked better for us.
Yeah. Like I like the fact that they put in the music, like made it a musical. That was exciting and that was cool.
I thought it was a good decision.
Yeah, just
You're
to
right,
make
there'd
it
be people
slightly
kicking themselves
differently.
when they saw Bohemian Rhapsody and went, fuck, we've made the exact same movie.
Yeah.
Oh, damn it.
But
Yeah.
also Bohemian Rhapsody, at the end of Bohemian Rhapsody, where they have just like the 15-minute
concert,
concert as well.
Yeah.
And then, like, when you get home, you go back and watch the full concert again.
Yeah.
Because you just really want to hear all of those songs again.
Yeah, agreed. A point that was brought up to me was the idea that the new superhero movies are musical biopics. Would you agree? Do you think we're going to get a whole bunch more of these?
No, I think...
Because I have a feeling there's a few more in the works.
I think
can't-
we'll get-
I know what you mean.
I
yeah.
think we'll get one or two more before this runs dry, because for the same fatigue, we're feeling already 3 movies in. Like, we're 2 movies in. If you don't include A Star Is Born as being a biopic, because
But here's the difference.
second
These
movie
films
in.
are not for us. Like I said, I was the only one my age in the cinema. These films are for people that grew up with
But
these
that's
artists.
another reason why I don't think it's going to happen, because people of that age and that demographic don't see films nearly as much as people our age do. Because that's the other problem with them trying to make a lot of money on it.
Yeah, but I mean, people have been saying the same thing about superhero films. Like, they were tired of superhero films, like, after the third one or not. So just because, like, we wouldn't, I feel there's probably going to be an influx of...
I disagree.
musical
I think
biopics.
as much as superhero movies aren't for everybody, and of course they're not, the demographic that they're aimed at is the demographic that sees films on a whole a lot more than other age groups, right? Other demographics. The demographic of people that grew up in the 50s and 60s and 70s aren't going to be the demographic that starts the next 10-year franchise of films. There'll be 2 or 3 more of these movies that cash in on it being popular, and by then, critics... not like us, people, actual professional critics, but critics that don't hit that demographic are going to stop telling people to see it. Whereas people our age listen to podcasts of people our age who are the demographic for those films, so it just kept sort of funding that. Whereas that's not going to happen with these.
I disagree. I agree more with Angus about saying because basically it's just because I know that a lot of people who are interested in these films.
Grew up reading all the comics of Elton John.
Well, they don't see any of the other films, right? They're not going to see the John Wicks and all of the Avengers or whatever.
Yeah.
So when one of these films comes out, they're like, "Ooh, I'll go see that."
Kind of
because
untapped
like
source.
because they're like, and it's like if you're going to go see one movie a year, if you're if you were growing up in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, then you're going to go see one of these ones.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I reckon that these are probably going to be a big thing.
Okay.
Over the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see so many, because also there were so many big artists around then, and when I say big, I mean massive. Before
Yeah.
internet.
But how
they
many
were
times can you do it
giant.
without telling the same story? Like, we're 3 movies
see,
in,
like,
we've seen the same thing 3 times.
I'm
But
really
all of
excited.
the Marvel films are the same
I
story.
know,
so
but
it doesn't
again,
matter.
that's aimed at a demographic that doesn't care about that. Whereas this is a bit a demographic that's a little more mature is going to notice that.
I don't think they care.
Yeah?
Yeah, because they want to go and see their favorite artist from when they were a kid.
If they
And I
have their
think
ear
they
to the
can-
ground to know when they're coming out.
I think they can change it up as well, though. Like,
Okay.
there's that movie that I'm really keen to see, which was I think it's yesterday.
Spaceballs 3?
No, yesterday,
Yeah.
the Beatles one, which is
Yeah.
like same kind of concept. Like, you're looking at a whole range of music
Yeah.
from back in the day
Yeah,
from one
okay, I'll pay
particular
that.
artist.
Yeah, yep.
But it's done in a different way. So.
I guess if they can do them without
Yeah.
just retreading biopics,
Yeah.
then I'm all for it. If someone said, hey, there's a biopic coming out 6 months from now, and it's going to be on David Bowie, I couldn't, like,
I'd fucking watch David.
No, I've seen too many of them. Like, I'd be like, yeah,
Yeah.
cool, I'll wait for it to come out on Netflix, though. Like, I mean, obviously not, because we'd fucking review it, but, like, generally speaking, I'm over them already.
Cool. All right, that's what we thought of Rocketman.
Rocketman.
Next week we'll be reviewing
Men in Black International.
International with Brady, one of the Chris's. What's his name again? Chris
Hemsworth.
Prattworth. Chris Prattworth.
It's the cast of Ragnarok, because it's the chick
Yeah.
from Ragnarok
Oh, yeah.
and Thor from Ragnarok.
Excellent.
And
Yeah.
probably
So it's
the Hulk guy will also be in
the
it.
sequel to Ragnarok.
Yeah, the
Thor sequel to Ragnarok.
Thor sequel to Ragnarok.
Cool. All right. Stay tuned for that. Make sure you write in on all of our various things. Let us know what you think of that film. Sweet. We will see you next week. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Film Slice Podcast. You can reach us on Instagram. You can reach us on Twitter. You can reach us on all of those bloody stuff. Tune in next week for Men in Black. Facebook. Jordan does
International.
Facebook.
I do Facebook.